indicator, and his PS, the governor of Central Bank, but also the DG of the Gambia Revenue Authority, and his technical team. It's going to be a very interesting episode. What we will do first, we will play a brief documentary before we start. Then we'll give the minister 15 to 20 minutes to discuss his vision, his priorities, and his programs. Then each of his team will introduce themselves, tell us their names and what they do. Then we'll open the floor for question and answer. Mbadi ngol mbal kontola mbal jela mbal kontona albe dawda be gambe ngo be kontona mi be gambe yang anim bantala bankungkang mba fala ko mbal jala bi nanyum mansa kunda myalan ko bi kontan tan sewota ta fale ko minister myalan ko marami na flo bundala ngolo so gambi anala timo kana as ani gambe ngo sipata de mansa kunda tamandi ka nyamen ila minister pata ma nyamen gambe na flo ka bum muntole aka finti muntole aning pande pas nyamen banko ngol finance chance ko pour ni kata isi nyinin karoke ko nyala ko fana wala jaal ko tan lam yira ko ti oto bi kata be dala bakere mbokk di len dalal fi si Mansa Kunda mi nga xamne mom moy programme bi nga xamne Ministry of Information ñoko commencé pour waxtaan mbiri réew mi nu mo doxé nguur nu mo doxé té nak kontaan na bég na wax la ne tay ministre mi nga xamne mo responsible pour comme réew mi mo fi nek tay waxtaan ak yeen ñen laaj ko nu mo doxale réew mi naka la comme di démé surtout li nga xam ne moom la ñëpp di jooy surtout waa Camara ak Touré Kunda mooy dund bi cher na te ministre baa fi wax ni la tax dund bi cher ak lu moo def pour wàññi dund bi pour ceeb bi gën a wàññeeku ak diilin bi ak sukur bi mi nga xam ne moo jaaxal waa Touré Kunda yi kon te kontaan nañ di leen dawal bu baax a baax ne ko suñ si pare ministre bi na ñëw waxtaan ak yéen wax ñu moom lu ñu isil tey lan moo nekk si dépense bi lu moo defee si dépense bi kii noonu suñ paree nañ dox ci mam bi ñu wax ñoom ñooy ñan ak lu ñoo liggéey su loolu weesoo ñu ibi fro bi pour ñi nga ko am ne am nga looy laajte nga laajte ñi nga xam ne tam ñu ngi bitim wala ñu si kër gi di ñu seetaan am na nomba buy dox si screen bi mun ngaa seen sa question si su boobaa ñu mën koo laajte ministre bi di leen jaajëfal baax a baax di wane suñ bégte ñi nga xam ne ñoo ñëw teew fii te di ñu seetaan ak ñi nga xam ne baa nañ seen soxla ñu toog kër di ñu seetaan si télé yi comme nuñ ko dee defee rek fu mu nekk nii plateforme boo dugga tey si tey nekk Gambia muy Star TV muy Paradise muy QTV ak Diapes ñëpp ñu ngi ko wone ak Fatu Network ak ñi nga xam ne tey képp ko xam ne yaa ngi mën nga ko seetaan si channel yi jërëjëf di leen jàmm baax a baax Esa, can we have the documentary please?
Welcome to an in-depth look at the Ministry of Finance of the Gambia. This documentary will provide an exclusive insight into the key departments that drive the financial and economic policies of our nation.
The IFMIS rollout basically is the extension of the Integrated Financial Management System called IFMIS to all the local councils, other MDAs.
The impact these implementations have is that government would now be able to consolidate all its accounts and be able to report on it.
So the Accountant General Department has introduced this payment gateway platform in order to connect with the GRA and the IFMIS together with the central bank and all the commercial banks to collect revenues on their behalf. And then those revenues are channeled through this platform to update the various systems, including the GRA tax systems, and the central bank core banking system also is updated. And in turn, the integrated financial management system is also updated in terms of the recording of the accounts and recognition of the revenues that are collected.
We want to be able to collect the right fees, be able to account for each funds that have been collected, and then ensure that we're getting the services that were meant to be delivered. But then the main objective in this area is to be able to reduce or eliminate the mismanagement of funds wherever it is happening.
The agenda of the Accountant General's Department is to ensure that it has executed its mandate fully in terms of establishing proper integrated financial management system for all the MDAs, and make sure that there is proper reporting at all levels of the government and we have it at the consolidated level also, which in turn we need the collaboration and cooperation of all the MDAs to be able to achieve this objective that we are determined to achieve.
The Gambia Revenue Authority plays a critical role in revenue collection and compliance. We will discuss various technological systems and their contributions to efficient revenue management.
GRA, based on our strategy plan 2020 to 2024, we prioritize digitalizations of our system. Here, when we talk about this GRA system, we basically look at the two main systems that are mainly for operation, and that is the customs and excise for international trade, and we have the domestic taxes for internal revenue collection.
Upon that process engineering, we also deploy or implemented the system. And the system definitely has streamlined most of the processes into one system called the KUNDA World.
We also have the latest technology scanning system at the seaport. It's now helping us in terms of detecting, under declaration, misdescriptions, and illegal items that are coming are detected by the scanner and they are stopped. In addition to that, single window also has given us the opportunity to have digital tracking system.
The whole idea is we want to bring transparency into our revenue mobilization efforts. And when you buy stamp, that means that you are going to put the stamp on the product that you are producing. If it is water, you are going to put it on each bottle of water, so that whatever we see in the market, we know that it has stamp affixed to them. Like this one you can see. It has stamp on it, and then we know that they are registered with DRA, they have bought the stamp, and then we can also check the validity of the stamp as well.
What we are now doing is monitoring and controlling. When we introduce this tax stamp for local manufacturing companies, from January to May, we have registered over $32 million. We also have mapped out all our borders with CCTV camera, so that any activity that is going on to these areas, you can see whatever is happening there. For transparency purposes, you pay that right tax and your profit and other monies belongs to you. So in that process, everybody will be happy. The government will be happy. The businessman will be happy. The citizens will be happy.
The journey through the Ministry of Finance, we have visualized the dedication and innovation driving our nation's financial stability and growth. From efficient financial management and advanced technological systems to improved revenue collection and compliance, these departments are shaping the future of the Gambia's economy. This is brought to you by the Ministry of Information as part of its public consultation and popularization of the government's agendas.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the next episode, the next section of this MANSA KUNDA. We'll invite the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable C.D. Keta, to make a statement. Thank you.
Good evening all to the listeners here in person. I'll begin with my colleague, Honorable Minister for Information, and I'm here joined by my able leadership team, starting with the DG of the Gambia Statistics, and of course the engine oil, that's the Revenue Authority, DG, Nankupa, and our own able permanent secretary, Abdullah, and the man who keeps custody of the National Treasury, that is the Central Bank Governor. It is our pleasure for us to be here today as a segment, for us to have a dialogue with the citizenry on the economic operation of the country, which has been entrusted in our care with the entire leadership team. On that note, I thank you all for coming, and we look forward to having an interactive session with you all to try to elucidate how public financial management is conducted to improve the lives and livelihoods of the Gambian citizen. Before I delve into the highlights, which is the first segment of the show, I would acknowledge that we are able to achieve and be where we are today as a ministry under the strong and demonstrable leadership of His Excellency President Adama Barrow. He is a president who is not just a president, but a great supporter of our initiative, reforms, and the changes we are trying to bring to enhance the economic performance. So whatever I'm coming to say here actually is on the bedrock of his able leadership and support. And this achievement or any deficit could not have happened without his full support. I will begin with how the economy has panned out over the recent year, and we'll say that based on institutional assessment of our economy, the Gambian economy registered an impressive growth rate of world GDP to the tune of 5.3% in 2023. And this has outperformed the sub-Saharan African average. This growth was supported by good performance in agriculture, services, and telecom sector. Tourism has also picked up, but it is still behind the pre-COVID levels. In 2024, growth is expected to be around the range of 5.8%, with a potential of hitting the 6% target, underpinned by strong agricultural productivity, construction, fast and anticipated development in the ICT sector. The debt level of the economy has actually declined from 85% in 2022 to 75% in 2023. And the good news is that the trajectory is on a downward trend. We have, as a country and as a government, successfully implemented the first 3-year IMF Extended Credit Facility Program in 2023, and thereafter successfully negotiated the successor program, which has been concluded, and we have completed the first review of that program. Our country portfolio and institutional assessment, which is a score on the governance and the institutional arrangement, which is conducted by the World Bank Group, has increased to 3.1 out of 6, which is a first time in the last 7 years, and we have now outperformed the sub-Saharan African average. This also helped us to be ranked among the top 10 fastest growing economy in Africa in 2023, based on the economic outlook of the African Development Bank publication. On the business environment and trust in the fiscal environment for business operations, the foreign direct investment has increased 14-fold from 2022 to 2023, based on the latest UNCTAD report. And this is the largest growth ever. Our domestic resource mobilization has increased from 8.1 billion in 2017 to 17.8 billion in 2023, which is an increase of more than 120% since His Excellency the President Adama Barrow took the reins of power and management of the affairs of the country. And we are pleased to report that we are literally on course to cross the $20 billion mark in 2024. So DG, your work is cut out for you. We have had robust fiscal policies which are anchored on reform to support this growth trajectory. And this is in the form of enhancing our public financial management. And this is noted in terms of external assessment of perception of corruption. The Transparency International Corruption Perception Index scored the Gambia out of every year they do a survey, and Gambia's ranking in 2022 was 110. But this has moved to 98 in 2023, So in a space of between 2022 to 2023, we've moved 12 steps, which is also a notable achievement. Ongoing reforms in the public financial management are expected to strengthen our fiscal space going forward. And key among these reforms that we are embarking on are the collaboration between the tax policy and the tax administration. We are pleased to ensure that the newly created tax directorate at the Ministry of Finance is working at the policy arm of the taxation system closely with the GRA, who are at the operational level, to execute and implement the tax policies that are designed at the center. Domestic resource mobilization strategy has provided a roadmap for the tax policy and medium-term reforms. We have also developed a duty waiver policy to help improve compliance, administration, and data matching so as to ensure tax enforcement is in place. And the tax expenditure policy has also been developed to guide the efficient and effective management of tax expenditures. This has been an area which was very, very, very challenging, as our tax expenditure in 2020 was in the tune of more than 2 billion. Rationalization of agencies are part of the reforms we are embarking on, and the Accountant General has just informed us of a rollout of the IFMIS to the government agencies, embassies, and the local government authorities. Increasingly, we are using the financial institutions to collect non-tax revenue. And this year, the shift in our reverse mobilization has been mainly to emphasize the non-tax collection. Our first pilot in this is the RBTH, which is the Edward Francis Teaching Hospital. They have partnered with a local bank, and they have since started collecting the revenue from the hospital. We are pleased to report that since the initiative started, prior to the initiative, the revenue collection used to be like 1.6 million monthly, but with the coming on board of the financial institution, this has jumped on to 4.6 million monthly. We have also committed to ensure that we are not just collecting revenue, but also increase the spending on the vulnerable segment of society. And for the first time, the government has committed, as part of its annual budget, a cash transfer program to ensure that no one is left behind in our development journey. And we have allocated $30 million to be disbursed to the less privileged and vulnerable segment of society, not just relying on donors, but this time we are using our own budget resources to support the vulnerable segment of society. Our farming community is equally important, and we support the farming community in many folds, from crop finance to fertilizer subsidy. And we are pleased to report that for the fiscal year 2024, we have allocated, based on the current fertilizer pricing, an anticipated subsidy in fertilizer price of about $1 billion. I think this will help ensure that the fertilizer is at an affordable level to help the farming community to increase their productivity. In the form of crop financing, the last year's crop financing price was a record in the history of this country. As such, we subsidized that to the tune of more than $700 million. We have increased our funding of the infrastructure from domestic resources, and this is on the backdrop of enhanced tax administration using digitalization. In the area of improved fiscal governance, with the support of IMF, we are looking at the vulnerabilities within the ecosystem to ensure that we address so as to enhance effective and sound financial management. To encourage the private sector participation in the public service delivery, government has developed a PPP bill which has been cleared by Cabinet and will shortly be laid before the National Assembly in order to introduce a PPP law that will guide the concessions that we are increasingly going to be leveraging on to pursue our development agenda. To reduce the fiscal risk from the state-owned enterprises, which we, for the information of the audience, we can say that the total asset of the state-owned enterprise is about 35 billion. And so far, government has received limited dividends from these, but we have now come up with a reform agenda that is the setting up of the State-Owned Enterprise Commission which is now a law, and the Commission has since started work, and they have just delivered the assessment of the first performance evaluation of their KPIs of NAVEC, and this has been adopted by the President. We've passed the law on the public procurement to ensure public transparency, in the procurement of public goods for the use of the state and related institutions. In terms of resource mobilization, we have just not looked at tax and non-tax revenue. We've also looked at the innovative financing models such as asset recycling, and our famous asset recycling of the Senegambia Bridge is a case in point, which we hope, based on the contract we've signed, we are expected to mobilize $100 million from an asset that was a grant for us. So we're going to get twice what was given to us in the first place. We've just completed the development of the National Development Plan, which is expected to roll out in the next 5 years, the development agenda of the government. These reforms and activities are not done in isolation and by the government alone. We are working with partners, and these partners have been very supportive. We'll begin by mentioning the bilateral partner, which is the United States of America, as a country-to-country partnership. We're very pleased and happy with the support the U.S. government has rendered to our development agenda, as they have given us 2 significant programs. That is the Millennium Challenge Account, which is $25 million to develop the energy sector. Simultaneously, they've also given us the Compact program, which is estimated to be an envelope of around $300 million, to focus on the human capital development of education and the development of river transport. Not only that, the United States Department of Agriculture has entered into the school feeding programs, and they have allocated $25 million per year in the next 3 years to support this school feeding program. And Gambia is a beneficiary to the Biden Malaria Initiative, which will allocate $4 million annually until malaria is eliminated. And the USAID and Peace Corps have all started operation in the country. On the other partners, we are pleased to work with other bilateral partners in the NDB framework, such as Badia, which has facilitated a straight facility of $50 million to support the importation of essential commodities. Of course, we do have the elephant in the room, that is the World Bank Group, whose portfolios now stand at more than $750 million. And this is on the backdrop of the turnaround allocation and our enhanced improvement in our CPI score, etc. African Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, the EU are notable partners to mention. And we are also pleased to mention that IMF, which is helping us, has actually approved a new program, which is the second ECF, which we believe will be will double the size of the envelope to almost $100 million. And the program, the first review of the program was concluded just this week. And with this review of the program, the board is satisfied with the implementation of the economic reforms and agenda, and this is supported by a disbursement of $10.5 million. Despite all these rosy pictures, all is not perfect. We still have challenges. And these challenges are like any economic management. We still have debt vulnerability as a major challenge, with the debt level at 75%, which is elevated, and we are working forward towards reducing this within the medium term to less than 50%. As we speak right now, a large portion of our national budget is allocated to budget servicing of the debt portfolio. In the 2024 budget, a quarter of the budget was allocated to servicing our debt portfolio. We also have challenges in the macroeconomy, which are driven by external factors such as the foreign exchange risks, and this is not unique to Gambia. In the sub-region, the dollar strengthens and continues to strengthen, and given that we import literally more than 90% of what we consume, this is feeding into our imported inflation. With this, we have the perpetual problem, which is we are dealing with right now, of rising cost of living. And it is the emphasis and the focus of this government to tackle this menace head on. Government is aware of the rising cost of living, and this is brought by the onslaught of the crisis we are living in. Commodity prices, geopolitical challenges, climate change, energy prices, etc. So what are we doing about these challenges? The challenges we are working on are to introduce proper government programs to support the vulnerable community. And I think that's where the Statistician General should roll out the completion of the social register so that the entire vulnerable segment of the country will be identified and government can do targeted intervention to support them. We'll also embark on fiscal consolidation through digitalization and public financial management to ensure a robust, transparent, and public financial management. We will deepen reforms for greater accountability and transparency in management of public finances. And of course, we are also anchoring and supporting the President's agenda, which is to focus on infrastructure development. The infrastructure deficit of this country is enormous, and we have all seen the large allocation we are giving to this sector. And this is a deliberate policy. We shall continue to do so. We will leverage on innovative financial strategies such as enhanced domestic resource mobilization, focus on non-tax revenue, and asset recycling or other securitization programs to ensure that government is able to mobilize the necessary resources to support our development agenda. In a nutshell, this is the highlight of the session. So I can come into the local languages. 5 minutes to summarize. Nkamen fo mbading lamuelali wala nyindiko bi nata wala kachal. Wala kachal muneti nim banku dimole kacha kai fwe banko la na fulo me ya karfa mon lan katama de nyame. Sarfol men katama jikol men beje julol men be kering kana fulo ta nyame ninga namo kanin dame ani President Arambaro la luolun sulaw won mineti ko Gambia di wala balwo sonea balimo to sonea no la nin ferol malla wo ferol dum masakunda da maka kenola fon nin partners wala blodu nyokono wala bantala bankolti partner institutions mel do ko World Bank nyol IMF nyol ko andu ni mage Gambia da mat nyimbe mu dunia bele ka kelo nyama bari se même fo no drong nin comme ça fait exemple kaytolem economy be nyame amam perfect but tumando bato jiki bala gaje katu amam control damala haymaroti melbe banta ka ko kasabi nyame jiko be jele ko lanna min jiko membe tama kan na flola tama dingala wo mjo kanne andum manke ko ngamira ko be menke kan danta jele be ferol be kafu kanne ka teko do balla hako do balla soto do balla balwo be sonala nyame anin fana menka masakunda tamandi ya sona ani molla baluo masakunda ya kala sula kuma ndol non sula so foka jeko do bal anin fogre ne mi benyi masakunda ani be banko kan ila baluo be sona ala nyamen isi jiki ila karango e sona ala jata kenya senelal la karol andu senelal la karol do bambani la baki katu ngalon ko senolen banko ko suloti sawo sang masakunda ka kodo men samba senelal la karola nyinang jambando damma do manga menke je pruka da kala atata kodo dalasi Gambia dalasi niat konti 1 billion dollars anim fana serun tiada bunda diata nyame wala minji ko ntel nga damen fo anin akawafi damen ne fatatal nga damen fo wala siata dinan ninto bawa fila masakunda ka fi ngam be soto laje so makoro men ko karala wotambita million kene woro la nin tabu sai fana masakunda me batu ko ha ko la masakunda wala nyen na tinyo so laje wati karifula pour fana sa so be la balu tamandi la nyame na lonne ko leal men be kire bari masakunda e ferol men lande wala min diko balu wala dati so na nyame esanso karwo kare nka domandi ba gondi ni comme ça je monte sans source dal assistance la isalon ko ni ba san marfo abitala dal assistance ni nani wala dal assistance adan assistance saba et ni saba karwo kare masakunda ka mel bapaso ta pour ka sanso ina ka manol man sa kunda bu ka hani na tile ka ma mano mo duty free leti ya bonni na banta nyame kasa mana wala nyam nyoje fengol da ko leta fengol kasan bandala banko da ko dol ni wo ko do seleta ndol la dala so man sele fo da salo na mol pan bari be ferol be lande kanne ka agriculture bambandi ka mulodum ka innovative areas will create be balwo sonen la nyamen imba ko andu min ko la man ke jandama no kuntandila bonna Nigeria na men je woto do way was o mu ka ko petrol station o motol le kalo janni ka essence so ko na wojen nyalale more than how many meters there is queue for petrol in Nigeria and near to be inflation ko le ba selo kar dantan ko matatal no fo 18% but bi mbete lo men data 11%. So nien regional jube tumando baron tol fana fishara banku jamalbi anu ngani no nyaadi le sanite jang sansite jang lunu jang so si menke no drone le masa kuba tan de kanyamen fangola karola lamba jaba kenda la karola karamola karola benam bulu kapu ko masa kunda man ke adama baron ala cabinet ni to men dama amum bela sula kuwal mo be kunko la nyinde mo mo ran la balinda be jel so mbenga kata mbe kata wara mala na babande mo man ni sabaje alnimba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister CD Keta, for that very comprehensive presentation. I think by now it's very innovative ways for ensuring that we generate internal revenue. I think that is very important. What I will do now is to give opportunity to your team on here able to introduce themselves and to briefly explain their mandate, and then we can now know exactly how to direct our questions. We'll start with the Honorable Statistician General. Thank you. Hello.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Cisse. I am as introduced by Honorable Cisse, I'm the Statistician General Gambia Bureau of Statistics, and my name is Nyakasi Mbisanya. The Gambia Bureau of Statistics is the principal body under the Ministry of Finance responsible for producing official statistics, but also for coordinating for the production of official statistics. We have what we call a national statistical system that is working with the Gambia Bureau of Statistics and comprises of all ministries, departments, and agencies that produce statistics, either administratively or otherwise. The Gambia Bureau of Statistics has two main directorates that are responsible for producing statistics, and two other directorates, one responsible for coordinating quality and also disseminating the data that we produce. But another one, which is the ICT department, is mainly there to support our operations. As we all know, we are in the technology era. You can't do anything in the absence of technology. When you have units, you have the National Accounts Unit. This unit responsible for producing this unit. This is the unit responsible for producing the CPI and the PPI. The CPI is the Consumer Price Index, and the PPI is the Producer Price Index. We also have other units, that's the Tourism Statistics Unit, because the tourism statistics is now the responsibility of the GT board to produce. This unit produces transport and communication statistics. We also have the trade statistics. We compile trade statistics monthly, but we produce the reports quarterly. Under this, you always we also have the social demographic statistics. This is the statistics mainly responsible for conducting the demographic and health survey, the multiple indicators survey, the integrated household survey, the labor force survey, and all other surveys that that we hear that have been conducted by the Gambia Bureau of Statistics. It's also the director responsible for conducting the population and housing census. I forgot about the other key responsibility of the Economic Studies Directorate that is conducting the economic census and the business enterprise survey. But this is also the directorate that also produces the business statistics business register. This year,
I think just briefly summarize that in the local language of your choice. Just 1 minute.
Okay, mbadi ndol fana nata jambi ka kafuna minister comme Gambia Bureau of Studies department of the Ministry of Finance le koro ndol la doko olen nyinti ndole ka jama ka kibarol ta albulu kibarol dun isiatale dol je ngeta institutional le bulu dol jenke dun atole kan ali kaja ngama labanta min kila sañ wala ni population and housing census ngama mo be dunta na mo natal kan dunta mo be kan al nyin ka kuma jamana laftalo na mo jellebe banko kan mo sifa jellebe nyim banko kan anim fana munem nyum wala do koti ani ajama ngakuma jamale nyininka ka nyininka jamale ke jata kendia karola senola karola karangola karola o be pour kama sekunda manko be la fero la nyame ka do kol ke komi al solata la nyame bar os bar fanan ka long munde be keri banko ka ala baraka.
Let me see this one. Hello? This one is for.
Thank you very much, Doctor. My name is Yankuba Dabo. I'm the Commissioner General, Gambia Revenue Authority. As most of you may know, the Gambia Revenue Authority is responsible for collection of revenue, mainly for the government. Gambia being tax-based economy, together with the domestic tax, they call them GRA. And since 2004, the GRA was established. Up to today, we are proud to say that we have 8 effective departments with us, starting from the HR and admin, which are definitely responsible for the human resources of the institutions. And then you have as well a technical services department, which mainly is responsible for research, the corporate strategy plan, etc. And then you have the legal department, legal and board services department. As you know, we do encounter difficulties with some of our taxpayers. So we've decided to create legal and board services department so that GRA being an institution that is established by an act of parliament, that people have the right to sue us if we do something wrong. Department called Legal and Board Services. We also have the internal audit. As you know, we deal with money, and money is an evil thing, that everybody wants money, but money that doesn't belong to you, you don't have to take that. So in order to bring the checks and balances, we created a department called Internal Audit. They are responsible to follow and check whatever is going within the institution in terms of the processes and the procedures of the work that we do. And we also have finance and accounting departments. that are responsible to receive. And so that whatever money assessment we do about money, responsible for that, have the IT. So I think digitalization. Ni wol benati nang ye kafunying department full wala many along ko wala doko mu collection assessment olti ibaje la ko ila doko efficiency betaraje nganyim fofana ko janning jiare be datina ni data o department full to hani mo tang ibuka soto no many along ko university degree soto bari bi mesirin danten sa foko nga mo ben soto many along ko graduate lem bachelors and masters atamita mo keme fulala atamita mo keme fulal men be alon ko dol bije wol mo ACC holdalti dol bije wole masters lesoto dol bije wole bachelors lesoto dol bije more than 6 or 7 we alon ko mo loyalty fo saim fanka mo dol fulo ngam men nganda minister ngam minister fa nganda mo dol samba ke samba dula dol to ke fula pour ifana capacity building dol kije abaraka Ismail.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs' main mandate is to achieve both macroeconomic stability and also promote economic development. And to achieve that, it has different directorates supporting the achievements of these objectives. Key among them is the Economic Research Department, and that is the department that is responsible for developing the macroeconomic framework of the country. And in doing so, they try to develop what they call the medium-term expenditure framework. Also, we have another directorate that is responsible for tax policy, and this directorate is actually spearheading both the policy and revenue reforms of the country. It also includes reforms, legislative reforms on tax-related matters, both tax and non-tax. We are focusing on both. And also, this tax directorate is working closely with the Gambia Revenue Authority. Most of the major milestones or achievements you are hearing is as a result of the collaborative effort between the tax directorate at the Ministry of Finance and the Gambia Revenue Authority. The Honorable Minister of Finance has made this statement, but also the Central Bank of the Gambia, because if we don't collaborate with the Central Bank of the Gambia, it makes it very, very difficult for Central Bank of the Gambia to achieve price stability, which is the core mandate of any central bank. So we collaborate with the Central Bank in different ways. We do this through having regular engagements between the Governor and the Honorable Minister of Finance. And of course, there is a lot of technical collaboration between GRA, the Ministry of Finance, and the Central Bank of the Gambia. And we do this through different platforms, through regular consultative meetings, and we are also present in the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank. And that is where the Central Bank monetary policy rate is set. So the macroeconomic framework of this country is anchored around debt management. Because if you do a detailed or deep dive assessment of the macroeconomic stability of this country, you notice that the center of macroeconomic stability in this country is around debt. And that is the reason why we are pursuing a number of debt reforms in our country, which is led by the Directorate of Loans and Debt Management. They are focusing on different areas. They are on resource mobilization. They are also in doing the risk management. and also focusing on the back office, that is recording of debt. And also, because of the importance of that, we are able to develop a number of instruments that will help support debt management. And key amongst these policy instruments is the on-lending frameworks and the guarantee frameworks. We are also pursuing the deepening of our domestic debt market. And to do that means we have to support our investor relations. We have to really pursue investor relations and to ensure that they are able to participate successfully. By that I mean those who are participating in government T-bills and government bonds. Is on the formulation of the debt and the formulation of budget. And we do this every year in consultation, of course, with all MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. We produce the budget, which becomes the instrument that is used to deliver our national development objectives. And this is done through by submitting the budget to the National Assembly, which is normally approved.
Thank you. I know citizens are eager now. They want to ask the questions. Finally, Governor, just 3 minutes. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes. No, we'll have many questions for him. So I think even the first question will be directed to him.
Okay.
Just briefly, your name and then your mandate. Just 3 minutes, please, so we can.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. My name is Bua Sede. I'm the Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia. Central Bank of the Gambia, we have 4 mandates according to the CBG Act, that is the Central Bank Act 2018. And the primary mandate, number 1, and primary mandate is price stability. In addition to price stability, is stability of the financial system, exchange rate stability, and also the fourth mandate is to participate in the economic development of the country, and that is access to finance, among other things. Now, in terms of the first mandate, price stability, the Honorable Minister mentioned, because of the shocks from COVID to Ukraine, now Gaza, Israeli war, those supply side shocks mainly, and during the COVID, the fiscal support to the economy in terms of expansionary fiscal policy, and also central bank expansionary monetary policy. Those two and the supply side, globally, that's what was done in all economies to make sure that we stabilize our economies against COVID and the Ukraine thing. That resulted to inflationary build-up in inflationary pressures, and global inflation increase, and as well as our domestic inflation. So in order to arrest those price build-up and increase in the inflationary pressures, Central Bank implemented prudent monetary policy through the Monetary Policy Committee, and we increased from 2022, when the impact of inflation of this support to the economy started building into prices. From 22 to now, the Monetary Policy Committee increased the monetary policy rate by 700 basis points. And this helped to ensure that
the questions awaiting you.
Okay.
Just briefly in the local language, what does the central bank do? What is the mandate of the central bank in the local language of your choice?
Minister Kaminyininka, wala munum central bank la duko. Central bank la duko, according to law na deputy bungo central bank sasi minna wala ka make sure marsandiso da nyim banko kang ala I think marsandiso ase tara level mi alonko molsa sanole marsandiso isia adafana ji pour mol la baluo se sona ya nyami anim fana dala so nim bantala banko ka trade nyami wofana say stable because wala kati na marchandise daka sele na banking system fana wala kodi mabo bungol be na dami isaje mol la kodol fana say safe mol economy ni solata kodol la pour ka bluetara bankola economy la development ko so mboka li ñoo wax moy central bank suñ mandate bi fola according to National Assembly legi député lu ñu sas moy pour ñu make sure ne njëgi bagage yi yomb nañ nit ñi mun a afford nit ñi mun a dem si marché bi pour ñu mun a seen koppan dawal yi liñ soxla pour dundal seen njaboot yi ñu mun ko mu yomba nga xam ne ku nekk soo demee marché li nga bugg a jënd pour dundal sa njaboot mu gën a yomba ak tamit jënd ak jaay bi dañ dee use dalasi bi ak CFA bi dollar bi euro pour loolu tamit exchange rate bi mun a stable yomba tamit ak tamit fi ñoo denc suñu xaalis yi mooy suñu banques yi tamit ñu meeg soo ne xaalis banque fa xaalis bi ngeen a denc si banques yi that they are safe and secure ak tamit xaalis moo de doxal koom-koomi réew mi so banques yi su fekkee ne banques yi a ngi dox ni mu waree koom-koomi réew mi tamit dina mun a dox and then the fourth mandate mooy central bank tamit dugal loxoom bi si développement koom-koomi réew mi ak yokkute nit ñi seen am bi ak seen alal yi ak dunda yi mun a yomb.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Governor. I think I will use my privilege as the host of this program to ask the first 2 questions. Then after which we'll go back to the public, give them a chance to ask 3 questions, which you'll answer. The first question goes to you, Governor.
Yes.
We've recently seen the dollar depreciating against other major currencies like the CFA, the dollar, the euro, and the Great British.
Yeah.
Why is that happening, and what is the central bank doing to make sure the dollar is stable? Because this has also consequences for the price of commodities in the country.
Yes.
The second question is for Honorable Minister of Finance. We understand that supply chain bottlenecks due to the war in Ukraine, due to the COVID-19, but also rising energy prices due to the war in Ukraine has caused inflation, which is called the cost of living crisis in most parts of the world. But what is the Gambia government doing through your ministry to ensure that the cost of living crisis is mitigated and that its impact is not felt by Gambians, particularly those who are low-income earners? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Your question is very important. Now, the stability of the local currency largely depends on 2 major factors. One is the supply of availability of foreign currency in the country, the reserves that the central bank is holding. Are we having adequate reserves to support the exchange rate of the country and also meet the demand of the country in terms of financing of international trade and also services? Now, supply of foreign currency is mainly from exports. You earn it. But in the Gambia, we basically exporting very little. It's groundnut and few other exports, few commodities. Our import is way more than our export. The other source of foreign currency for remittances. Now, the supply, the demand is more than the supply. That is on the domestic side here. But what affects the exchange rate also is what is happening in the international economy. For instance, recently, like I mentioned, the central bank, the Federal Reserve Bank in the US, they were battling inflation to make sure that they are able to bring their inflation to below their medium-term target, which is 2%. In trying to do that, they increase interest rate. That's the lowest hanging fruit in terms of monetary policy instrument for aggregate demand management. That increase in interest rate in the US caused investors to now move to invest in the US. And the currency of investment in the US is the dollar. So the demand for the dollar increased, the dollar appreciated, and vis-a-vis other currencies depreciated. Even the mighty pound sterling, the euro, the Japanese yen, and all those currencies. So these are the factors that affect the exchange rate of the dalasi. And what is the central bank doing about it? We try to make sure that we increase our reserve buildup. Currently, we have over 4 months of import cover for goods, prospective goods and services. In addition to that, we introduced a robust exchange rate policy. By that, we moved from a reference rate to a single exchange rate, that is the policy rate. And then we also did a revision of the foreign exchange guideline. So that together now has increased the flow of foreign currency in the foreign exchange market. The confidence increased in terms of the exchange rate of the dalasi and the stability of the currency. Now also the gap between the parallel market, that is the black market, and the official foreign exchange market. The official foreign exchange market, by definition, is money transfer organizations, both international and local foreign exchange bureaus and commercial banks. So that foreign exchange market, that is regulated by the central bank. And the unregulated one, that is the black market, that arbitrage opportunity between the two markets have narrowed significantly. The last time I checked, what the statistics showed is less than $1, about 98 bushels.
Why do we still allow the parallel market to operate, even though we know this is not good?
The parallel market is illegal by law. It should not exist. We've made announcement to them that if they want to continue to operate, let them come to the central bank and register as foreign exchange bureaus. Very little has come out of that, but we want to use the carrot before using the stick, because if you want to enforce to make sure that you terminate their operation, it creates another challenge in the economy, because they will go underground and then they will do hoarding, and that will impact the availability of foreign currency in the economy, and by implication, it affects the exchange rate also. So to avoid that pressure on the exchange rate of the dalasi, that's why we're working with them to say, guys, come and register in the foreign exchange market. You have the same opportunity as you are currently doing unregistered.
All right. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. I think my question is, what is government doing to ameliorate the cost of living? And I don't know where to start, because that's our daily job. Every day, our task is to how to make life in this country affordable and easy for the citizens who are actively participating in the economy. We're looking at it from a multi-pronged approach. Energy prices. We all know global energy prices have been on an upward trend. And Gambia has been one country that has continued to be a cushion between the market forces of high energy price and the citizenry. As we could recall, the tariff was at 36% last year, and the cost of producing electricity has not stopped. It has still continued. As a result, the cost of generating the electricity we consume has become beyond the tariff we are paying currently. And it is good for us to inform the citizenry at large. As recently as last month, the government allocated $10 million, that is more than 650 million, as tariff compensation to NAWEC, so that the current tariff will remain where they are, and the citizens will not pay any more tax increase, energy price increases in terms of electricity. If we had not done so, NAWEC would have been obliged to increase their tariff to a level that would become unbearable. So we allocated, in spite of the challenging economic crisis, to give NAWEC $10 million as tariff compensation. In terms of day-to-day cost of living, rice, there is no duty on rice. When you import rice, it's your CIF Banjul only. and your transaction cost to clear your goods. There is no duty. That's why you will see a bag of rice in the Gambia is cheapest in the region. And I'm sure, yes, certainly. And if you look at value-added tax, all essential commodities like cooking oil, sugar, there's no VAT levied on that. These are tax revenues the state is foregoing just to make sure that cost of living is affordable. Then we come to the productive sector, agriculture. In the fertilizer this year, I have just mentioned we allocated 1 billion to make fertilizer at the price that it is today, 1,100. If you look at the crop financing, last year's crop finance price was the highest ever in the history of this country. And the government has now started to identify subsidized petrol. In fact, from January to date, we have subsidized petrol prices to the tune of more than $300 million. In fact, this is where we need to let the Gambians know that we just don't take advice from IMF and others. The directive, the marching order we had from them was full pass-through. We said we know our society is very heterogeneous and we don't have social safety net. As such, we must cushion the cost of rising petrol prices at the pump, because if petrol prices goes up, fuel prices go up, everybody fares go up, electricity, that's it. So there is not a month where government will not subsidize. So every Gambian should know that if you buy petrol at the pump for $80, know that government is paying on your behalf $3 extra for you to be able to get that petrol at 80. That's one area we're doing. And when it comes to the people like the Badwunkas, for the flour, bread has not crossed $10 for the longest, simply of government initiative and policy. Government has given special investment certificate to the flour manufacturers. They don't pay any taxes so that their costs will be affordable and they can sell flour at affordable prices so that the Badwunkas can afford price at $10. So that's not it. I'm not done. This we're doing a lot. This is our day-to-day work, and this cost of living is not unique to Gambia. If you come to education, Gambia government is providing free education from kindergarten to grade 12. Imagine that was not there. That would have displaced your income. So in coming for bading mall, welem nyintiko, ay nyininka menna, welem ko. Masakuna kamuneke pruka molla balwusonandi. Nga damen fo walem sarta warawula luolung wati masakuna be walekan. Bring cash power la dato, duty mamtara mano kan, VAT mantara tuloni fengodolu kan, melkana janjabolu. Ani general fadwana la jambando na le tiada sawo sang masakunda ka kodomenta pass woka katami $1.7 billion isla. Nimfana nata kajube ko essential ni gas oil kari wo kari masakunda ka dalasi saba dalasi la lita wo lita menka sam petrol price so mel fana kam burol ferñol de dañim banko kan masakunda ka yewol mako le pour namo kana lela business o kan isa ye si se barbungol fana si buro so no dalstan so jinel be caring bar ko laadu wo be duna beleto.
We now move on to the yes. Questions, and then we'll give them the chance to answer those questions. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Maa ngi nuyu ñi fi nekk ñëpp di rafetlu programme bi bu baax a baax. Suma laaj bi nag si olof laa ko bëgg a laaj dina similar to Dr. Ismaila Cissé li mu laaj. Maa ngi tudd Modou Lamine Diouf maa ngi liggéey Hilltop FM and QTV. Si mbiri CFA bi boobu laa bëggoon a laaj governor because gis nañ ne CFA bi mu ngi dóor dalasi bi all the time. Around 2016-2017, CEMIL bi mu ngi nekkoon around $225 to $250. Tey dem na over $500. Te lii dafa am njeexantal si ñi nga xamante ne ñoo dëkkee si réew mi because of seen jëflante ak réewi Sénégal. bëgg naa xam pexe yi lan la ci matuwaay yi nga xamante ne fas ngeen ko yéene jël pour saafara mbir moomu noonu. Honorable Minister mu ngi doon wax ne tam suñu xoolee SOE comme yi fi nekk ak mu ngi wax sax subsidy yi ñoo dugal joxe nañ 1 billion si fertilizer bi joxe nañ mu doon mbir yoo xamante ne yu am solo la yu nguur di def bëggoon naa xam tam ginnaaw bu ko nguur defee lan la loolu juraat in return because the point is not just pour ñuy joxe waaye li nga xamante ne moom la ñoo joxe moo am loo xamante ne tam dina ko jur soo bëggoon naa pour Honorable Minister leeral loolu jërëjëf bu baax a baax.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Okay, in the meantime, perhaps, Governor, you can answer the first question.
Thank you very much. So question B, I'm not solo torop. Why question B? Then the latte bo xamne latte nan ko yon yu bari suñu amé monetary policy committee then they am press conference. Reporters yi dañ leen laajte li joxe nañ reason waaye dinaa ko joxeeti comme li ma wax dalasi bi ak foreign currency bi mooy xaalis yi yeneen réew yi li ko determine mooy demand and supply ñaata nit ñoo dee soxla CFA bi ak CFA biñ amee si réew mi ñaata la pour mun a ñi ko soxla ñu mun a jaay CFA bi si ñoom pour lu ñoo jëndee Sénégal ak dëkk yi nga xam ne ñu ngi use CFA si sub-région bi léegi li tax CFA bi di egg compared to dalasi bi mooy suñ trade mooy jënd ak jaay bi léegi Sénégal is our #1 trading partner daanaka li ñoo soxla si Sénégal di jënda di indi Gambia léegi moo gën a bëri daan yeneen réew yi li tax mooy suñ dëkkandoor la suñ port bi improve na léegi bu baax a baax te gaa yi ngay tray waaye ba tey suñ import si li nga xam ne ñu ngi ko soxla jógee bitim réew yenn dañ ko dee wàccee Dakar te suñ buggee génne yooyu si port yi Dakar bi indi ko Banjul dalasi bi du currency du xaalis si Sénégal foog nga am CFA bi fii dem jël sa bagage yi Sénégal loolu li nga soxla si CFA dafa gën a yokku loolu dafa ekkati price yi CFA bi parce que li ñoo jaay Sénégal ñun Gambia wala Sénégal li ñoo soxla fii pour CFA bi dugga si moo gën a niiw daan liñ soxla foofu loolu benn la si import bagage yi ñoo génne from yeneen réew yi di ko wàcce port Sénégal te tamit lu bari luñ soxla si wàllin dunda ministre wax na ko fii dañ ko dee import maanaam dañ ko dee indi from bitim réew lu bari tamit Sénégal ñun suñ situation bi doy na waa toro lu ñoo lekk yi dañ ko dee indi Sénégal suñ buggee samp ciment roads basal Sénégal la dee jógee même soble yi ni Sénégal dafa ñëw sorans yi nga gis fruits yi si mbedda bi ñu ngi koo jaay watermelon yi yëpp Sénégal la dee jógee même kaani sax Sénégal laa jógee lu mooy amin dugub yi luñ soxla taami Tabaski xar yi luñ soxla Sénégal laa jógee te ba pare fii ak Sénégal suñ diina yi tarika yi yëpp benn la su màggal jotee dañoo dem Sénégal yooyu yëpp you are asking for yaa ngay laajte CFA te yow li Sénégal soxla fii pour CFA bi mun a dugga si fii nga gis ne soo buggee CFA bi nga joxe sa dalasi bi am CFA bariwul so liñ war a def ñun Gambia mooy li Sénégal amee foofu in fact in terms of agriculture noo leen tere soo seetee Sénégal bi seen suuf bi ay challenge waaye fii suuf bi ñuul bi la te water table bi ndox mi tamit mu ngi fi so liñ war a def mooy suñ agriculture ñu develop ko nga xam ne yi ñooy indi from Sénégal ay watermelon ay fruit seeg yooyu yëpp mën nañ koo grow fi di ko lekka ak yes so looloy reason bi.
All right, time is not on our side. Honorable Minister.
li ma understand si question bi mooy ne dañoo subsidize ban njëriñ la am si askan bi loolu la understand si question bi waaye liñ mën a woon rek mooy ne suñ subsidy bi demut kasaarawuñ ko because ñu ngi gis ne agriculture li béykat yi di ji mu ngi gën a yokku at bu nekk last year liñ am si gerte musuñ koo am si at yu passé loolu tax di nga gis ne our economic growth suñ koom-koom dem kanam yokkuteem bi agriculture contribute na si lu bari so subsidy bi gis nañ fu moo dem loolu tax because sooy dépassé xaalisi nguur foog nga seet li nga def ndax dafa am njëriñ ndax amul njëriñ at bu nekk balaa ñoo def subsidy dañoo seet ndax mu ngi wàññi ndunda bi ndax mu ngi njëriñ askan bi sakatuma béykat yi te soo gisee price yi gerte liñ amoon last year daaw musuta am si dëkk bi loolu dafa tax ne béykat yi ñu ngi gën a am xaalis soo boobaa ñu mun a jënda liñ soxla mun a def enterprises wala business wala faj seen soxla yi so liñ seen mooy ne dalasi bu ñoo def si subsidy foog ñu seet su ñoo dépassé dalasi bi ndax dafa am lu moo jur si askan bi so si suñ gis-gis si suñ xayma gis nañ ne daal luñ dépassé subsidy def dee am njëriñ loolu tax ñu ngi koo def at bu nekk jërëjëf.
No questions coming from the floor. I have questions coming in from those watching from home. I cannot read all the questions, but I'll start with the first one, which says, my question, when is the Ministry of Finance going to implement the new integrated pay scale approved by Cabinet in 2023? This question is from one Ms. Jallo. The second question from D.A. Jao. Please ask the governor, when does he expect us to do away with soiled currency notes, as well as get a single generation currency as opposed to different types and size of notes?
I'll go for the first one. Because we have to share the load.
Yeah. You know, there was intention to come up with a new integrated pay structure. This was in 2022. But the reason why it was implemented was that we noticed that the government wage bill will go up by about 50%. And the government wage bill at that level was deemed to be unsustainable if we have to use the new integrated pay structure. So we had extensive discussions within the ministry and within government and our partner, the IMF, and we came to revise the salary increase from what would have been 50% to about, if I don't forget, about 30% salary increase. And because we have revised the salary increase by 30%, meant that we couldn't introduce the new pay structure, because the new pay structure would have led to a 50% salary increase. When do we introduce it? I leave that with our policy makers. So what we are doing is that we are monitoring our debt and revenue performance. Okay. Because remember that if you increase salary, it becomes a permanent expenditure. So you have to identify a permanent revenue source that is going to finance this expenditure. And you know here, most of the body bunkers don't like tax increases. So we'll see how we can, yes. So that's what we are doing now. You could even see when we introduced the new excise tax stamps. We did not increase the excise tax stamp. We just say what we want is all bottled water should be stamped. And the excise stamp, the rate remains unchanged. But even with that reform, prices went up by significantly, especially for bottled water. So we are a bit mindful on the types of reforms we introduce, because some of them lead to unnecessary price hikes. Remember also, there was a period when we replaced the sales tax with VAT. The sales tax was 15%, and we maintained the 15% for the VAT, but prices doubled. So we are a bit mindful of how we want to finance salary increases, because how we finance it is also very sensitive to the public. No, I'll do it in Mandinka, don't worry. Mbadinkol ala baraka bake, so no. so minketa wolom no, I'll do it in Mandinka, no. so minketa in 2022
Central Bank or to the commercial bank, and you get the new generation of notes. The old generation of notes, starting with the $50, the $100 and the $200, they have different types, 2 or 3 types. So that withdrawal is still going on. We just don't want to create chaos by saying, let's say by period X, if you have old generation of note, it's worthless. We saw what it did in the chaos it created in Nigeria. So that's why we are still working with the public, but a significant amount of the old generation of notes has been withdrawn, and is in the current amount of the old generation of notes has been withdrawn, and is in the commercial banks and the central bank, and we are destroying them. We have incinerators that we use to destroy the old soil and mutilated notes, we call them. That process progress, so that the new generation of notes will be the only ones that will be issued.
Okay.
The commercial banks, we always tell the public, if you go to the banks, because sometimes the commercial banks are lazy to do sorting, and we have penalty for it. When you go to the banks and they pay you these soil and mutilated notes, give it back to them and demand for the new generation of notes. Or if they give it to you, bring it to the central bank. The wrapper on the currency will tell us which bank it is, and sometimes even the cashier we will know. And then we penalize. The director of banking is sitting there, he doesn't joke. I mean, minimum penalty is $50,000 on a bank.
So if a bank issues the old generation
or
notes,
a generation of
they can
soil
be fined $50,000.
Yes, bring it to the central bank and we'll penalize them.
Thank you.
Or you tell them, I don't want this old generation of notes, especially $50. Give it back to them and demand that they give you the new
one. Thank you.
If they refuse, come to the central bank.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yapendaba. I have a question for the Minister of Finance. In general, I just want to ask, what do you do for those that cannot be able to afford a lot, like benefits? What does the bank do to those that are less privileged to be able to afford a lot? Example, like if prices are high and they don't have enough to be able to buy for their living, stuff like that, for school fees. In general, what does the ministry do to those that are less privileged? Thank you.
The support, okay. If there are no other...
For school fees, in general, what does the ministry do to those that are less privileged? Thank you.
The support, okay. If there are no other questions from the floor, I have a question from the Director of Press at the Office of the President. She's asking whether, let me see here, okay. How can the introduction of price control contribute to managing the rising commodity prices? I'm not a fan of price control, but you can answer that question. Then after that, we have 10 more minutes. I have 2 more questions. I think there are no more questions coming from the floor. You have 1 question for 2. Okay, that's fine. Then let's take those questions, and then we can give the chance for our guests to answer the questions.
My name is Babu Karban. I have a question for the governor of Central Bank. They introduced some time ago the money stock market, the money stock market. What happened to the money stock market? Why is Central Bank not continuing with the money stock market?
Why is it?
Well, yes.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I will ask my question in Mandinka. My name is Aliou Job, economic student and political science at the University of the Gambia. So my question will be direct to the Honorable Minister. The Governor Central Bank ya admit la ko ni ada jibe daraso la barakanta ya asunta minna wala mu sifa la be ku daraso ka nyinte mo nyina mi yo sabu wala mu nka fengol min sang Senegal banko nyinkan ani business o ba Gambia ni Senegal tema nyami na kalamu do ko ni dafa pour ko gap sorong in normal circumstances kamin ke wala mu ko wol min ka produce Senegal iko wala ta ya produce Gambia banko ka kamin command substitute import substitute strategies ila ministry ba mu simfa dalta kan pour ka agricultural ministry nyinke segmentu yandi aning local industry mi anako la banko kanjang prisaje ko ardoni ku ko don mi anako wala kasan Senegal is a produce no banko kanjang and banko dingol financier mo na fanno wala and as a price of an data lano abarka bag
you one is from the DPPR, one about the stock exchange for the central bank, and then one about the import substitution strategies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I recall the question was about what do we do as government to protect the vulnerable segment of the society. I think that that's very dear to us because we are a government that believes in leaving no one behind. Every Gambian should have a stake at the table and at the enterprise. And we are very sensitive to the less vulnerable, to the less opportune. And we just don't do this alone as a government. Prior to this year, we had partnered with World Bank, where cash transfers were made to vulnerable segments of society. This was done in the parts of the country where the social register were completed. Currently, the social register is pending KM and Banjul. And that's why we cannot roll out a means-tested support system. So we do a blanket subsidy in the form of prices for energy, prices for the fuel prices, supporting free education. And this year, we have also started direct transfer from the national budget to the vulnerable segment of society. And this program is being managed by the Social Safety Program project under the Ministry of Office of the Vice President. So why we are doing this blanket subsidy? Because we do not have a completed database of the social register. Once the social register is complete, we will likely withdraw from the blanket subsidy and do targeted means support to the vulnerable segment of society. That is one. And of course, we are doing support in the agricultural sector to support the farmers who are equally vulnerable, and agriculture subsidy account for nothing less than 1.75 billion annually. So that is the question on that. And si men for wale mindiko, ay nyininga men na masakunda ka men muneke molye mel blome koben. Ko nyim masakunda dung amanke masakunda te pour fanka mal ninfo. Milialon fo fanko i blome kobe masakunda ka lo wale. nunto nim World Bank nyol kam bulo kafu nyokane meliale bulo me ko ben karfula o karfula nka $3,000 transfer bari nyinang dalasis nyinam masakunda fon la ranke so nga kodo boni waldo mentata kanyan $30 million pour meliale bulo me be ko ben ka kodo dila karfula o karfula anu na jiko momenti so se register wala mampare bar ni o pareta mbaju bela le mel bulo me ko ben na wato sita ninsi mbe programme de dala len siwol mako no nyamen dana ka kemo be skatu ni petrol data la permanent secretary imanya na kero bugo sas asanol bar ni register soto kayte ne permanent secretary wala soto mu nyinati bari fulana kare wobe dame o man fen soto ni siwo mako en wala wala passo data la dan nga di mobile. And one import substitution. I think import substitution is from a various. Oh, okay. I nyininga mena wole mnyintiko dala sola fanko talata nyame ani sefa. But me men fola wole mnyintiko sefa manke Senegal fangola economy la fanko. Wo mobe jana wolona. Sefa mu kodilete mea lonko European Union. Ani wole be kuntakiri. Bank of France bring itata euro. Bank of France natale ko sefa o sefa banko nibe kering ndolbe lola le ngela ko do sementuya so sefa la sembo manke ko Senegal la franco ka European Union EU ila kodo ikame euro wala ni sefa be kunta kere sa euro be dame dunia be ko na be selekan so sefa la selo manke Gambia ni Senegal da mala julea da mati ni euro seleta drong sefa ka sele. So masakunda be ferol mel lande kam pour ka exchange rate stabilize wala nyinti ko nyanam nka mem bondi nam banta ngawtala wala antina sawo sang nka menda pasi pour senol la karola men ka bon tol fon la ranke soto wotata kanya 1,750 billion anin fana nim partner sol gam bulodu nyoko le mel tara ke ko World Bank, African Development Bank, IDB melia ADB melia longo be agri senelali be sembentu yakan signed wrong this year World Bank a supplemental approval for giraffe of $68 million pour melia longo senela dolbe je si turol dila senela dolbe je isi jambandol dila melia longo ke makoy so mi ofero leke kam pour kana domestic production o kafo par ko kuru ne abebuka ke no wati kile onay bar inshallah be jikirin ko new wo ferol be timata to mando baron kamende da jabe sonala abaraka thanks
the stock capital
wanted
market.
to say yes thank you very much for that question. If you could recall, the central bank launched the capital market in September 2023 right here at the ICC, this international conference center. Since then the capital market is there, up and functioning and running. Now in April this year, to help before the OIC complete some of these routes, the secondary routes, the government needed some funds. The NRA, National Road Authority, needed those resources to ensure that they are able to pay the IPCs, that is the certificate, the contractors who completed those works to pay them. And the total amount was $850 million. Now, the budget is not in position to do that at the time. The Honorable Minister mentioned in his opening remark the need for domestic resource mobilization. We need to be creative. That's why the capital market is there, so that it facilitates and enhances that domestic resource mobilization. The NRA issued a corporate bond, and they registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission at the Central Bank, and that corporate bond was floated on the capital market. And the 12 commercial banks managing directors were offered to say, do you want to participate and buy this bond? The government, the NRA needed $850 million. It was fully subscribed, in fact, oversubscribed. We were looking for 850. We got $1,070 million. And I think that's the way to go. The reason why that is attractive relative to traditional foreign currency loans. With foreign currency loans, when the dalasi depreciates, the quantum in dalasi that the government needs to pay for that loan increases. And again, at the time of payment, the exchange rate of the dalasi may also depreciate. You need more dalasis to pay for that. But with a domestic currency loan, it's the same dalasi. At the time of payment, it's the same dalasi you use. So that's the way to go. In fact, government is working on other initiatives in terms of infrastructure financing, the roads, the airport, and other things, so that we use domestic resources, Gambian people's savings, to build assets for Gambians and the next generation through the capital market to issue these bonds. And also, Honorable Minister, just to support what my minister said, that is import substitution. African Development Bank la President Obirana Taja Adisina, the President or His Excellency President Barrow, I offer ko mbali mako la mano Gambia by 2027 mano nta sanna na mbantala. Gambia ka mano min domo sango kono Tony Kemefula Tawarola aninu Willie Tony Willie Kemefula le domo sango kono nka jelle doku so jibe andu faro bijanne tandakol bijanne jie bijang masakunda ka angare sambanen wolom fertilizer
mol bijam yanon kani kabi donc do masin ko dum fanan perfect soda masin dol meni sotal ndin soto menge masin on nyenu lonne ngana mol kumal pour yesa mananjang pour se data nyimbe kono kibaro mimbe kono se itaje bare ngamin soto na sava nyindo wala about 2.6 million mol wala be nyim banko kam bare comme nga fu nyame mam pare kurinke donc nyimbe continuer kan demander nim parata mbafula mobe mo jele be nyim banko.
Yo, ala baraka bake. Thank you very much. I think now that is it for this episode of the MANSA KUNDA. You want to round up? Okay, 1 minute only.
Même for a mole wale mindiko until as a ministry, we are a listening ministry. Nale feel for any moy na flora tamandi yato. Janni molka si ke mire fanye. Ye ministry mala membe caring. Janni ka si for fanye emire fanye because ndolmans na lokundo duno womente mo la balobe sona la nyame na fulo ka tamande nyame akadu mindola ka undo kula ka mistake le bari man nga memfo wala ni mo fenole wala na ministry to nga kolbe ka funyoka mbal ni mbara mba fala la baraka. Thank you.
Thank you very much to every one of you, the audience. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much, Statistician General, Mr. Nyakasi, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Sidi Keta, Commissioner General, my brother, Mr. Dabo, DPS Jalo, and also Governor of the Central Bank, Bua Sidi. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. The Ministry of Information will continue to ensure there's proactive disclosure of information, to also ensure we provide timely, accurate, authentic, relevant information to the Gambian people by organizing these programs. Until we come your way again, in 2 weeks' time, we'll announce which minister is coming and his team to also interface with Gambians, to explain to Gambians what they are doing, and for Gambians to get a chance to ask questions. Ala baraka bake mbadingol bi mbadandila janne fu wati ko teng jerejef malana kerem yen ñep pour sen teewaay ak ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekk di kër di seetaan ba beneen yoon jërëjëf. Thank you.